guys, it's Charles here again. Thanks for coming back to another educational series on how to invest in real estate. This week, our topic is about selling your property. As an investor, you get paid first time when you do your refinance, but ultimately, when you sell your property, that's when you get paid the most, right? So let's just dive into when do you want to consider selling, why you want to sell, and how it's going to work. Okay, just shrinking myself. Okay, so before you sell your property, you need to have a crystal clear understanding of why you want to sell, right? So ask your question. Are you cashing out the market? Maybe you have been in a market for 10, 20 years already, and you're at an age you want to retire, you want to start enjoying freedom, right? Then good for you. Congratulations. Your patience and your persistency and all your hard work is getting paid. So for sure, you can sell and cash out your market. Maybe you are consolidating your portfolio. Maybe you own multifamilies and duplex, and now you want to sell off some of the single family homes, and you want to buy like apartment buildings. So you have everything under one roof, easy of management, just economy of scale, right? Third will be repositioning your portfolio. Maybe you have some property in another province that you want to sell off and buy in the city that you are close to. Maybe you want to get rid of some of the properties that are not cash flowing, right? That will be repositioning your portfolio. Tired of being a landlord. Maybe you had a really bad experience with a nightmare tenant, right? And you just don't want to deal with it anymore. You're out of the game, and you realize you're not suited for landlording, right? One potential solution could be hiring a property manager, right? Having someone else handle the day-to-day with the payment as well as dealing the tenants. But if you don't even want to go through that, then maybe it's time for selling. Tired of maintaining the property, right? Maybe the property is very old, or maybe it's very big, right? If that's the case, you can decide to sell. But one of the way you can mitigate selling is bringing a partner, right? Potentially bringing someone who's a lot more hungry, who wants to do the work instead of you, and then you just partner up, right? Or maybe you need access to cash immediately. Something maybe happened to your life. Maybe you lost your majority, the source of your income. Maybe you're sick, or something happened in your life that you need immediate cash. If that's the case, for sure, you can sell. But if you can hold on to it, that would be much better solution. So refinancing, as we talked about last week, could be a way to go. But if you're in desperate times, then for sure I understand you need to sell. Okay, so how do we go about selling once we determine we need to sell? There's really two ways to sell, right? You can either sell privately. So if you want a lot of privacy, you don't want showings, you just don't want to deal with realtors, then you can sell privately. Most of the time, if you sell privately, you're selling to maybe a contractor or a wholesaler who will buy and pay you cash, and they can close very, very quickly. However, you will not get market value for sure, right? Your price for selling is going to be much lower, but instead you have the convenience. Or you can hire a realtor, and a realtor can either do an exclusive listing or MLS listing. So exclusive just means it's exclusive to that listing agent that you're signing with, and that agent can market it privately. They can market to his or her own database, and one of the reasons why you want to do exclusive is because of privacy, right? Maybe you don't want to know, maybe you don't want your neighbors to know that you are selling, right? Maybe you're just testing out the market, right? Another reason why you may want to go exclusive is it's coming soon, right? Maybe the property itself is not ready yet, but you just want to put it out there. So for pre-marketing, building momentum, so that when it hits MLS, you're gonna have maximum exposure, right? Maybe you're going through renovation, right? It's not quite ready, but you still want to list it, right? So That's one of the reasons why someone might go with an exclusive listing. MLS listing is just you putting on the multiple listing service system. Everybody who is in the board can see, and you are basically doing business with all the other realtors out there. They can bring a buyer. It's on the market, and it's maximum exposure, right? One of the caution is that check to make sure whoever you're listing your property with has the proper board access. So for example, my market is in Hamilton, Ontario. It would not make sense for me to list a property in Hamilton with a Toronto agent, because Toronto agent only has the Toronto board access, right? If it's $1 million property, maybe it's different. But let's say it's a starter home category, then you want to make sure it appeals to the locals. So if you put it on Toronto board, the Hamilton realtors cannot see it, right? Vice versa. If you're listing in Toronto, it doesn't make to list on Toronto board, right? It doesn't make sense to list in Hamilton board only, right? The best way is to list in both, right? List in your local board as well as Toronto board, because Toronto board is the biggest, but depending on where you are, you always want to list in your local board. There are 3 pricing strategies which you can tackle as a seller. So first is you just list it at the market value. So it's whatever you want to get out of what you want to sell. The true value that you want to sell has to be in line with what the market supports, right? Or if you can go slightly under the market value with 48 hours irrevocable, right? So that just means, you're not holding offers, but you're taking offer anytime. But once there's a first offer in, you need 48 hours, so 2 full days. And that 2 full days, the time start ticking. As soon as the first offer comes in, everybody will be notified, and second, third offer might be coming in within that 48 hours, right? So it's kind of like a holding offer, but it's not technically. And third is the holding offer. This is the very popular strategy right now, especially in my market, where it's very much a seller's market. You list it significantly under market value, and you holding offers. The idea is to generate multiple offers so that emotions gets kicked in, and the result is that you get something significantly above market value, right? A lot of the novice buyers, they look at the price, they feel like, oh, maybe I can get this, right? But what they don't realize is that that's just a marketing value, right? A marketing price. It might as well be just $1, right? It's just something to get you into the property. Okay, one thing we always deal with as an investor is that when you sell your property, you have to check if your tenant is leaving or not, right? So is the property tenanted, right? Are they leaving? Yes or no? If they're not leaving, right, then they are, and if they're paying under market rent, for sure your property will sell below market value, right? That's almost a given. It makes everything so much harder. But if your new buyer is moving in, then the tenants have to leave, right? And what you can do is you have to make sure from the buying agent, you get an affidavit from the buyer stating that they are moving and that it's for their personal use, right? And for your tenant, you have to issue something called an N12 form. That's notice to end your tenancy because the landlord, purchaser, or family member requests to move into the unit, right? You have to give 60 days notice to the tenants before ending the lease. And every time you are showing the property, you need to provide 24-hour notice before entry, right? Just for courtesy. So there's a lot other things that could happen when you are dealing with a problematic tenant who doesn't want to leave your property. It makes selling your property so much harder. If your tenant is moving out though, then it is best, right? This is the best case scenario. You are selling with vacant position, right? So always try to aim for that. Okay, let's go through some of the fees. So first fee when you're selling is your realtor fees. So both your listing realtor as well as the buyer realtor, right? In Toronto, it's usually 5% plus HST. In Hamilton, it's 4%, so two each, right? Another will be a lawyer fee to close, right? And the mortgage charge, if you have any, if you are not at the end of your mortgage term, say you may have to pay some penalties. If it's a rental property, in our case, which it is, you have to pay for capital gain tax. Talk to your accountant how much exactly you'll have to pay. This depends. So sometimes to get the maximum selling price, you would be advised to do a renovation. For example, kitchen or simple things like trim, paint, flooring. But it may not make sense depending on the market. Right now, like in Hamilton right now, like you can sell a property as it is without doing any renovation and you'll get the maximum value, right? So make sure you talk to your realtor or talk to your fellow investor to see if you should do any renovation before selling, because you might not get the cost back, right? Pre-inspection report. That's something that I see a lot of sellers starting to provide, especially if you're holding an offer and you're expecting more than 10 offers to come in. It is very convenient just to have a pre-inspection done and have the report and provide upon request to the buyer, so the buyer have a peace of mind when they're giving you an offer and they have a confidence level that is much higher to give you a firm offer than if they didn't see any inspection. Cleaning and decluttering. This is always decluttering and cleaning does a lot more than you think. So always have to get that through. Staging, right? This is another thing. If your property is a turnkey, like a renovated property, I suggest staging. You will get a lot more for your bank, and you will definitely get multiples back from the staging cost. So you should definitely consider staging. And photos and videos, that's another cost. You can negotiate with your realtor to see how the cost will be split, but a good photo and good videos, and nowadays you have the 3D Matterport, which is like a walkthrough. You should definitely get that, especially in COVID times, right? This is the first thing that people will see when they are browsing potential house to go view, right? So photos and videos, very, very, very important. Don't cheap out on that. Okay, so my conclusion is that, so number one regret for most real estate investors is that not holding on to the property long enough. So they all say they wish they didn't sell, right? And make sure you are crystal clear on why you want to sell and not be caught on the shiny object syndrome, right? Not because, oh, if I sell, I can get 150,000 or 200,000. No. Your reason for selling must be a lot more deeper than that, right? It has to be a reason to sell. But if you must sell, then get a feel of the activity near your market, right? Don't try to time when to sell. This is another thing. Like you can't time the market, right? Because it's all dictated by interest rate, lending criteria. Maybe the banks are starting to tighten up their lending criteria, consumer confidence, right? And supply and demand. So try to time the market is very, very difficult. But when you do need to sell, maybe, start off just paying attention to the market, seeing what's on the market, how many offers are coming in, what is the listing strategy, and try to mimic what the best practices are, right? Talk to your local realtor. And there's no harm in trying, right? The worst thing that could happen is that you list it and you get all those showing, you get some offers, but you don't see an offer that is acceptable to your standard. Then just walk away, right? Decide to hold off on selling. You're not gonna lose your house just because you decided you're gonna list. Okay? All right, guys, thank you very much. If you have any questions, you can always go to charlie.com. And right now, I'm providing a free guide on how an overworked aerospace engineer escaped the salaryman life. This is a story of my life and exactly some of the most asked questions on how I quit my job and go into real estate full time. So if you're interested in that, please take a look. If you can like and subscribe the channel, that'll be great. Thank you very much. Bye for now.